Hello and good morning. Thank you for joining us on Facebook Live today. I'm Kelly Hawkins. I'm the Director of Public Information and Government Affairs here at SRHD. And today I am joined by Lynn Kimball, and she is the Executive Director of Aging and Long-Term Care of Eastern Washington. We call it ULTQ, so you'll hear that today. And we're here to recognize National Family Caregivers Month and talk about how we can celebrate and also support our family caregivers in our community. So hi, Lynn. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's such an important topic.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, maybe let's just jump in and why are unpaid, let's put that, unpaid family caregivers such an important part of our care in our community?
Yeah, so when you think about long-term care and people needing care, most people, when you get of a certain age and you reach your later years, about 7 out of every 10 of us are going to actually need some kind of long-term care. So we're going to need some support in order to stay safe and stable, and we need help from others. And the vast majority of care in Washington state and across the nation is provided by family caregivers. The formal care system is about like that, and then the care provided by family and friends makes up most of the care system in the United States.
Which is amazing, and amazing to know about people in our community. What are some challenges that caregivers face when they're trying to access outside resources and things like that? Or what are some resources that can help them face those challenges?
Yeah, so it's good to think of, one of the things we often forget is we don't always identify as a caregiver. We think we're being a good daughter, we're being a good husband, we're being a good son, you know, you're being a good friend or a good in-law, and we often forget that, you know, if you're driving your loved one to appointments, you're trying to track finances, you're providing personal care like bathing and dressing, you're a caregiver. And we often just think of ourselves of, nope, we're just doing the thing we should do, and our role is a family member and the one with the one we love. So I think it's always important to just acknowledge that I am a caregiver, you know, I'm doing these tasks, I'm doing these things. It's great that I'm doing this, but this is kind of a new role that we take on.
And also acknowledge that you need help in taking on that role. So what are some resources that maybe AltQ has, or there's some other resources in the community that people have access to?
Yeah, so a good place to start is to think about our Community Living Connections helpline. So our helpline, which is, for those of you in Spokane, it's 509-960-7281, and I'm sure it'll get posted as well. And it's a good place to start because we help people from everything from simple questions to I just need to problem solve. This is the experience I'm having with my loved one. What kind of resources are available? What formal help might I actually qualify for, and what kind of support? It really helps people kind of navigate those resources. And we can do everything from simple referrals to sitting down, coming up with a plan, helping with applications if there is, you know, formal assistance that's needed. And we do everything from helping problem solve with dementia support. So we've got a dementia care specialist on staff who can help as well of, you know, if there's behaviors, if there's other challenges that people are experiencing, really helping people see what's available. Because we do a lot of different programs and resources in the community, both directly and through our partners. So a good example is, you know, maybe it's you have a loved one, they're living in a different part of town, you're trying to get them food every day, make sure they're eating lunch because they aren't always eating. We partner with Greater Spokane County Meals on Wheels for home delivered meals. So they could get a meal delivered to their door. We're happy to do that referral and get somebody set up with that. And it goes all the way to our partners at Frontier Behavioral Health actually run a program for us called the Family Caregiver Support Program. And that program looks at what are the needs of the caregiver and how do you wrap supports around that caregiver to help alleviate the stress, the challenges that they might be experiencing. Because you think about it, it isn't just, you know, as a caregiver, you're usually juggling schedules, so not Many of us, especially women in our middle ages, we end up taking care of family, parents, and children at the same time, and we work. And so we're juggling a lot of things. And they can help with everything from respite care, having some formal support come in and help, all the way to maybe it's counseling. Often we see, especially sons, who end up doing personal care and support for their parents, and it's that change in roles is really, really hard, and just that help in navigating those change in roles. So it's a wide variety. That's why I always say no question is to left field or right field. Like we problem solve so many different situations with people, and whether people qualify for formal care or support, oftentimes information and just talking it through with someone can be just as powerful in figuring out what is your support system.
Well, and it's helpful to both the caregiver and to the person receiving care in helping them have a better wellness and their well-being and health, but also their independence. A lot of what you just said helps. You said we juggling all these things, but some of these resources, do they also help with them gain some of that extra time for themselves?
Yes. Self-care is so important. We often forget about, as our roles as caregivers, how important it is to prevent burnout, because our loved ones depend on us and we're doing everything to take care of everyone else, and we often forget to take care of ourselves, and taking care of ourselves is just as important. And so trying to balance that stress, because stress has definite impacts on the bodies. We see just there's studies that show being a caregiver can actually have increased mortality rates. If you're doing care for a loved one that has really intense care and really intense needs, that's why getting a support system, making sure you're taking care of yourself, means that you can continue to take care of your loved one and help prevent them from needing higher levels of care. Because when we burn out and we crash, who's taking care of our loved ones?
And what can we do, any of us watching, or what can we do to help those family caregivers that are in our lives or that we know of?
Well, I think the first is always listen, check in, see how people are doing, listen, just be that support. Offer to pitch in, even if it's simple things to help. And if you don't know somebody who's a caregiver, though, given the number of caregivers, there's a good chance you do. We also have programs and supports where we look for volunteers to actually help older adults in the community who may not even have a caregiver available. So things like our Adopt a Neighbor program, we work with local community groups to do snow shoveling, or right now, rake leaves, to make sure people who don't have the supports, or maybe their caregiver just has too much to juggle, that they've got that extra help and support to clear the sidewalk, make sure they can get in and out safely.
Yeah, those things may not be the priority right now.
May not be the priority.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming to us and talking about this important topic, and I encourage you all to look up ALTQ and maybe find some volunteer opportunities or resources if you're a caregiver out there in our community. Thank you so much. So thank you, and we will see you all next week.